Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel. I'm the Shotgun Shogun, joined by Mevlin today, and this is going to be the Shotgun Shogun Winter Snowdown November Champions Cup breakdown, where we go over all of the stats, the picks, things that we thought were kind of interesting, and really just kind of hammer out what the meta is looking like. This was around the end of the RTA season, so obviously with the balance patches that came out after this, the meta is going to be shifting a little bit, which is going to actually be kind of interesting because we're going to potentially see a completely different game come December. And actually, Mevlin, one of the things that I have been talking to people about is that almost every tournament, and you've been, with me for the last two, every single tournament seems to have a bit of a different meta. Now it's always typically going to be, Knights, Tanky, Bruiser, Sustain, right? But we do see some of those shifts. And what was one of the things that you saw that was a little bit different this time around than the October Champions Cup?
I didn't get to see too many ML Haste RB combos compared to the last cup. I don't know if it's just the difference in player, because maybe a lot of players from the last tournament like to do that. What would I say? ML Haste
RB, yeah.
But this time we saw the comeback of Flurry plus RUELE. It's actually really prevalent. We saw Flurry get picked almost 100 plus times. 103 out of 158. That's 66% of the games.
Yeah, which I guess I should have said that. We did have 158 games this time. That's because we had 64 contestants. We were stress testing our levels a little bit, and actually worked out really, really well. Doing the first round offline matches, this does allow us in the future to have a lot more competitors, bring a lot more people in, because we have had a lot of interest. And the really cool thing is that the more people we bring in, the more interesting picks that we will potentially see. One of the things that me and you were talking about beforehand is that some of these units actually have a 100% win rate. Now, I didn't personally get to see this because I do believe it was an offline match, but there was an Ice COLI with a 100% win rate. This obviously won their one match that they used, and I don't even know how many people know what Ice COLI even does. I've went up against her before.
She throws bombs, but it's not really bomb mechanic. I don't even know what she does either.
Yeah, exactly. There was also a Kitty Clarissa that had a 100% win rate. Cecilia had a 100% win rate. We'll talk about this one because this one was actually amazing. The 100% win rate Chadley, and this was actually picked. We were there. It was it was in the main tournament, and it was a level 50 Adley that was brought in specifically to dumpster a cleave team. It was poetry in motion. And the fun thing too was immediately after that, they pre-banned the Adley out of respect. So that was huge when that Adley got picked, which anybody who is watching the breakdown, all of the three matches are all the three videos of the days are down below. You can go find that match. It was pretty solid. But when that got picked, I just was like, this absolute mad lad is picking Chadley.
He knew what he was doing. He was completely sane, actually. Yeah. It was the perfect unit in that comp, and then the fact that it didn't get banned and just disrespect the Chadley, he got punished for it.
Oh, it's probably because a lot of people don't know what Chadley does. Unfortunately, though, he does actually suffer from the Broman problem of the 85%. So, it is a little bit of a gamble, but the amount of CR push that he gets pushed forward with, if you combine that with an Idol's Cheer, he will cut just about anything that exists.
Turn one, he gets 36% CR boost.
Yeah, if they do an AoE like a Flitica or something along those lines, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. Speaking of 100% win rates, G Purgus, considering that he just got buffed recently, I wonder Do you think that G-Pergus being buff is a good reason for people playing now?
So I do think that G-Perg has made a bit of a presence due to things like ML KRAU, things like a Tywin, stuff along those lines, more AoE being relevant, and the fact that, you know, a lot of people who do Wyvern 13, right, shifted more towards like the one-shot team. So I know myself personally, I have a G-Perg just kicking around that I could use. And the thing is if you draft a G-Perg later into a semi AoE draft, right, it's going to punish your opponent. You can run a Specter Tenebria with a G-Perg, and if they try to counter you with AoE, well, okay, you're just pushing everybody on my team up. And there's nothing you can do about it if you want to hit my Spectenny. You know, one of those types of things there. But definitely,
yeah, too, that G-Perg has attack buff. Works
he does
really, really well with,
yeah,
you know, Tenebria, Stanny, that is.
right.
And any attack buff is just danger for our team.
Yeah, for sure. And then the potential for the stuns, right? Stuns are huge. Not only that, but you have the provoke on the S1 that can be very detrimental to the enemy team if you like provoke lock. I know a lot of times, you know, if there is a blue KRAU on the field, you just kind of try to provoke lock him so that he can't horse you. But out of 4 matches, he won every single out of 4 picks, won every single one of his matches. So I mean, definitely says something about him. But we were speaking of Faithless Lidica, and surprisingly, and I think a lot of these were in the offline matches, right? Because typically we don't see Faithless Lidicas very often. No. People who are trying to use Faithless Lidica are trying to cleave, and once you get into the sweatier parts of the tournament, unless you are the type of player like a KRAU or something like that, you have just crazy insane gear, you don't cleave because you know that everybody else that you're going up against has crazy insane gear as well. So, but we did see her, she was picked 35 times, pre-banned 14, she was post-banned 16, and out of those games that she did make it through, she only had a 31.58% win rate. Now, this differs a lot. This differs a lot from our previous tournaments in that most of the time that she got through, they just won. So this goes to show that probably a lot of the people in the first round were not necessarily cognizant maybe of their opponent's gear level and tried to come into a cleave against maybe like a blue KRAU turtle team and then just got dumpstered. So definitely just goes to show that, you know, Faithless Lidica is not the one-stop shop for OP. Have her and then just win, because yeah, definitely a little bit different. And because I think if I look back at the other tournaments, she had something like a 75% win rate when she was picked. It was actually pretty crazy. But speaking of tanks, I'm gonna go through all of the. Oh, go ahead, Mivan.
I've seen some like not just cleave players. I did see some players like start cleave and then switch into control.
Yep.
Which is like a pretty good thing Lidica does, because she does usually want to build up some effectiveness, because that S3 can like really stop heroes like RUELE or like pretty much any healer. So there are some uses for Lidica outside of cleave, but I feel like she kind of fell off the meta because there's just some other heroes that are better, like Basar and Sirius, I think are better cleave control units, while Lidica is just purely mostly cleave rather than control.
Right. No, and I agree with you in that she can transition easily into a control team, and I think that that's one of the things that players like KAYRON who do control cleave do very well, because you draft Pangolin as well. Yeah, is that you can draft your Lidica really early and draft your CR pushers, see what way your opponent is going, and then you either go, oh, okay, well, I can do enough damage to this team, or if they're super tanky, you go, and I'm going to finish off with like 2 control units like an SBR or, a Dizzy or something along those lines in order to really just lock them down and control the fight. So yeah, but speaking of tanks, we're going to get into all of the various tanks because we saw a ton of them. I mean, and they're not going to go anywhere.
I kind of want to talk about LR KRAU first, just because
okay,
I've noticed that we know that from the past tournament, people would like pre-ban LR KRAU, even though we both know that we're both LR KRAU players.
Yep.
And that was before the changes to RTA, where you did not get to see who gets first pick.
Right.
And I think the changes made it so that now people kind of don't need to pre-ban LR KRAU if they get first pick, or maybe they think they've changed your drafts, I think, after the fact that after now we get to know who gets first pick, and if you get first pick, you're pretty much guaranteed LR KRAU, or the opponent is forced to ban that LR KRAU if he can't deal with it.
So I think there are a couple of different scenarios here. Now, we did see LR KRAU pre-banned 58 times. He was picked 76 times, got post-banned 11, and had a 52.31 win rate. Now, the thing is I think that when LR KRAU first came out, right, a lot of people didn't know how to deal with him. And I think that, I mean, personally, like I've kind of been, I've allowed people to have LR KRAU right out the gate as well. I typically ban a SPECTER TENEBRIA, and I think that, this is something that we talked about a couple times during the tournament, that you have to ban one or the other, right? If you don't ban SPECTER TENEBRIA and you let them somehow have both LR KRAU and SPECTENI, well, you're kind of screwed, because you have to draft, AoE in order to deal with SPECTENI, or however you have to deal with it. But the thing is that Last Rider KRAU, if you draft a single target bruiser DPS team, his ramp up time is very, very slow, because obviously he's just going to rip that S3 right out the gate, and unless he brought like a book, he can't soul burn that for the extra cooldown time. And so you have plenty of turns to deal with him.
Speaking of book, Steady usually has book.
Right. So, the thing is if they don't bring any sort of mage, that he doesn't have the souls first turn, and everybody just rips that S3 off first turn. You get the 2 turns of debuff. Yeah, you kind of do. Now, one of the things you can do is, if you run him with DIENE, is you just delay your S3 by a turn, and the buffs that DIENE provides is going to have enough souls for a soul burned S3 the next time he comes around. So that is something that you can do with that, and then you have the initial cooldown soul burn on it. But the thing is that it's going to take a long time for that first turn, after the first turn, for it to come back. And in that time, you can provoke walk him with FCC, you can provoke walk him with a Tywin. You just single target him down with like a RAVI, an ARAVI, a RUELE, things along those lines, because if you're not bringing the AoE in, it's not going to be cooling him down. So a lot of people did really shift to that single target DPS this time around.
With the LQC buffs too, everyone's going to start. Well, there's even more incentive to pre-ban S10, and I wonder if that's going to hurt LR KRAU even more, not having S10 in a team, and also all these like single target bruisers, like you said, APOC RAVI. I've been like trying to do APOC RAVI plus my LQC in the same draft, and it's actually been working really well. Just pre-ban the S10 and then draft some bruisers.
Yeah, and that was the thing too that I had brought up quite a few times during the tournament, was that a lot of people shifted to pre-banning SPECTER TENEBRIA, because the single target bruiser meta, the single target DPS meta is very, very strong at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see how things change into the December tournament. But let's get into some of the other knights that kind of took the place of the Last Rider KRAU. Adventurer Ross, picked 58 times, was never pre-banned, post-banned 7 times, had a 50.98% win rate. Now, the nice thing with Adventurer Ross, I think a lot of people actually sleep on just what Ross brings to the table. The S2 double up into a potential defense break. But even if it doesn't defense break, 2 turns of debuff immunity on Ross and your highest attack damage dealer. that in itself
Usually
is
the
huge.
highest attack damage dealer is usually fast enough to just finish it off, even if it doesn't kill an S2. So like something like a Rowlet, you
Yeah,
just S2 and Wrath, hit someone, Rowlet with S1 and bring it down to like a little bit more, and then once Rowlet comes in and just S3s, it's
just
pretty much
S3, and
guaranteed death.
it's gone. You know, and if you get like if you do get the lucky defense break into anything that's a bruiser or squishy, it's just dead. There have been a lot of times where I know that my Adventurer Ross is faster than their top model LULUCA, and you S2 into it, pull in Riolet, pull in Ravi, pull in LQC, whoever, and it just dies. As long as it hits the defense break, it is dead. Deado. Not only that, but provides defense buff, strip on the S1. He can hold night artifacts, which they're all OP. So the other thing too is I like
that because he really provides like a lot of tempo. It's sort of like a book kind of thing where you got this turn 1 tempo and just potentially get like ahead in the game really early. Yep. But that's how you win the game, which I really like, because I don't like long games. I like really quick games.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's at night, they can like provide this much tempo in the game is really interesting.
The other thing too is if you pair him with DIENE, the amount of souls that you produce between the two of them, you just chain S2 late in the game, and there's nothing that they can do.
There were so many matches too where we're like, why is he picking DIENE here? There's not enough crit. And I'm like, oh, he just gets so much souls over and over again, and that's how what's the end does, just like generate souls.
Yeah, once you get the soul engine going, like later on, and you get into a little bit of frenzy, those double ups are insane with a Riolet, with an ARAVI, with a RAVI, with now a Landy, because you're going to be able to pull in that Landy for extra attack. It'll be interesting to see how many Landies we see in the December tournament, if any.
I don't see her that much in RTA right now, so hopefully someone figures it out and then tells us how to build it, and we just copy.
Well, I think that she's going to be a little bit of a niche pick, but we'll talk about her in the other tournament. The most picked unit in the entire tournament, actually by a pretty far margin here, FALCONER KLURI, 103 picks, 34 pre-bans, 36 post-bans, did have a 47.76% win rate, but I mean, it's got picked almost twice as much as Adventurer Ross. I'm
surprised that win rate isn't 85%, actually.
Because I mean 15% of the time you just lose right out the gate. But we were talking about seeing the FALCONER KLURI Riolet combos and how strong that is. Not only that, but just FALCONER KLURI,
FALCONER Ross Riolet combo.
Yes, that is crazy that is a crazy combo. Those two, actually, Adventurer Ross, FALCONER KLURI together is just such an enabling team.
Also, like if you first pick, if you go like if someone has first pick guy, they first pick FCC, and then you go FALCONER KLURI Ross, what am I supposed to do? There's like, I could seal a Riolet, sure, but then you still have the counters because you have Flurry. Yep. And if I let you have Ross, you have both Ross. I mean, if I let you have Riolet, you have Ross and Flurry for the Riolet. It's like, there's no counters for them too. Like, how do you counter Flurry and Ross? There's like no hard counters for them that punishes them for picking those two units. I think that's why these units are super strong, because you could just like pretty much skip the turn in the draft. You're like saying, oh, you pick units so I can counter them. I'm not gonna do anything right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, the thing, too, is FALCONER KLURI brings that push, brings that little bit of sustain, brings the defense break, brings the provoke, unresistible later on in the game. A lot of times they're built with an Elbrus Ritual Sword or something along those lines. And sometimes you just see a FALCONER KLURI just single-handedly solo a team late into Frenzy. But, 103 picks this time around. Now, last time we did see the FALCONER KLURI was not picked up nearly as much. The first tournament, lots of FALCONER KLURI. Last tournament kind of fell off just a tad. I think a lot of people were trying out other things, but this time around, 103 and 34 pre-bans. Now, Fallen CECILIA also got pre-banned 34 times, but she also only got picked 77 times. and post ban 9 times. She did have a 52.94% win rate, but I was a little surprised to see that Fallen Cecilia actually got picked less than Blue KRAU. Just one. What's that?
But you gotta count the pre-bans though.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I mean she got pre-banned a ton for sure. Yeah.
If you count the pre-bans, Fallen Cecilia had more, what's the word, like attendance or like appearance or something.
Right.
She had way more, like she appeared more in the drafts than Blue KRAU, but she did get 77 picks while Blue KRAU had 87, but she did get pre-banned 34 times.
Right. Blue KRAU only got pre-banned 9. I don't often see Blue KRAU getting pre-banned. FCC pre-bans are pretty important, especially if you're going to try to cleave. A lot of times it's almost a tell if somebody pre-bans Fallen Cecilia, because you're like, oh, this dude's probably going to cleave me. I know on the ladder when I see an FCC pre-ban, I'm just like, okay, I guess I have to like first pick Blue KRAU and then see what they pick, and then if it's cleave, then you go SSB, somebody else, and you're just like, I'll go SSB, Cecilia, or Cerise, and then you just go from there. But definitely did see a little bit more of a presence there, and I wonder if that's because because we allowed 64 people into the first round, if you saw more people that had invested heavily in their Blue KRAU, that's kind of the staple of the RTA scene, whereas like maybe the more legend level players didn't typically pick the Blue KRAU.
I mean, every time I see a FCC first pick, pre-ban, I'm just like, I'm not ready for this.
Yeah. Now, this is a unit that I think a lot of people kind of underrate, right? And that's Lilias. Lilias getting picked 55 times, pre-banned once, post-banned twice, almost a 51% win rate here. Now, the thing with Lilias is I think that she really enables a lot. And also, you don't know if you're going to get like Lilias cleaved. You don't know if it's a bruiser Lilias or if it's just a straight up like tank Lilias. Because you always roll the dice.
Like there's those speed lists that like are speed tuned perfectly to go between flurries and rylets. Like those are you never know what it is, and if it's a crit list, like you counter it differently, obviously, than the speed list.
Right now, the crit cleave Lilias is kind of a one trick pony, because in a best of 3, sure, you can pull that out the first game, or you have to save it to the third game, because after you tip your hat, they're not going to let you cleave them with a Lilias a second time. But it's definitely
also relies on Basar, right? It's usually if Basar gets picked a lot, Lilias gets picked a lot,
right?
And Basar actually got picked half the amount of time, so Lilias actually seeing a lot more than I think she would, because like I guess the flurry there too, so she also counters flurry.
She does also counter flurry, because in that case you kind of have to Falconer Corey the Lilias, or else whoever you did hit with the S3 is just gonna get removed. Now the other side of that is that you can force out that Lilias S3, so like let's say there's a dizzy or something along those lines, you can always strip a Rylet and then force out the S3 to cleanse that, and then hit them with the other debuffs, because it's like, do you allow this thing to just keep its debuffs, or do you wait until I try to hit you with all of the other debuffs to cleanse that off? So a little bit of mind games there. And then one of the last tanks that we did see a little bit more play and actually very solid win rate is Blue Rose. She got picked 21 times, no pre-bans, 6 post-bans, 66.67% win rate. And a lot of times that is because, well, there's Rose Cleave, and I love me some Bruiser Rose Cleave. Very solid knight, enables a lot of plays, attack buff, CR push, defense buff for herself, can carry a mitigation artifact, has a cleanse, removes her debuffs, shield, CR push, all that stuff. She's a very good utility knight, and I'm kind of sad so many people sleep on her.
I think it's because she costs a lot of molas, actually. Her S2s and S3s all gain CR push, so you need to max those, and then for S1, you might want a +4 if you want to maximize like the CC chance, the control chance. I forgot what her debuffs are.
Yeah.
But like I was so down to build Blue Rose until I realized this is too much MOLA for a support unit for me to build. I'd rather have just like Ruzid or something with the new silver, what was it called? Silver Rain? The new Silver Rain buffs where like it always like gives a tag buff to the highest attack. So
right.
I'm not just like
I still think
like the cheap.
you're just hitting the dollar menu CR pusher, whereas exactly. I'm over here looking at like the high class upper scale CR pusher, attack to my team, all of that jazz.
FTP players, man. FTP players need love too. Okay, we need to.
It's true, but almost every time you see a Rose picked, potentially going to get bruiser cleaved.
Yeah. Every time you see your Rose pick, panic. Essentially, just start running around and panicking.
Yeah. Now, so the second, we're gonna move into some of our DPS units here. And
you kind of missed one night. Actually, you missed a Taiwan.
A Taiwan. I'm gonna put in control because he's not a typical. He's not a typical knight. He's kind of like that outlier. It would be like adding Fire Charlotte into knights.
I guess. Like adding Charles into knights.
Right. Yeah. They're kind of outliers. So we're going to go into some of our DPS units here. And this is our second most picked unit in the tournament. And it's the second half of the FALCONER KLURI combo. And that's going to be Rylot. 91 times. He got picked pre-ban 22, post-ban 9, about a 55% win rate. So actually a bit better of a win rate than the FALCONER KLURI. And one of the higher DPS win rate units, obviously going to be a little skewed there because of the amount of times picked. So definitely very strong. However, as we all know with Rylot, when you pick a Rylot, you're kind of putting your win in the hands of RNGesus. And there's some times where you're just watching and you're just like, man, if only that Rylot would have dodged once out of the 17 times he got hit, probably would have been a completely different game. But that is what you do when you pick Remnant Violet. Now let's go into Fire Arbiter VILDRED. KAYRON picked 31 times, pre-ban 2, post-ban 2, only a 38% win rate. And honestly,
I think that's not a good spot right now.
What's that?
I don't think KAYRON's in a good spot right now.
Yeah,
especially with the Cerise buffs and everything going on.
Right,
he's gonna have trouble.
Yeah, no, and I think that it is real tough with the amount of strips, with the amount of CC, with the amount of stuns, things along those lines. It really, really hurts KRAU because like one of the things that you can do with FALCONER KLURI, right, is you don't have to let that S3 rip right out the gate. You just wait until the second turn. You blow up the KAYRON, proc his immortality. Second turn, you strip it with the FALCONER KLURI and he's dead. Or you let him go first. If he doesn't kill anything to extend his immortality, you just hit him with some dizzy buffs or any other sort of stun, fire RAVI stun, or Basar's going to hit him because Basar's going to hit your Rylot, going to hit your KAYRON 100% of the time. So it definitely
there's a lot of tanky units too that cannot seem to kill. Like he can't S3S any. He's
right.
Probably not going to hit Rylot. There's just so many things that make KAYRON a big liability because if you don't get that extension on your S3, you don't get attack buff when you do S1, so like it's not going to hurt a lot. Right.
No, exactly. And with an Aureus Adamant on the field and like a blue KRAU, you're just not going to be able to do what you need to do with that KAYRON. Now, picking KAYRON into the things like a cleave setup, a lot different, right?
Different, yeah.
If you have something that if you pick him in like with somebody that can protect him, that's a little bit different as well.
Cerise, but Cerise is going to be a lot meta more in cleave teams, I think. So I think he's even in a worse spot now. If people start putting Cerise in their cleave teams, then you're pretty much guaranteed to ban Cerise. In which case, you might get the Flitica and he might get S2'd and you might get stripped into a reset, so he can't S3 and get attacked. Like there's just so many things here for KAYRON to like worry about now. And I am probably I'm probably gonna not use KRAU a lot more and more.
Right. Same. Not that I use him too much in the first place, but moving on to the real Arbiter, VILDRED, the non-fire RB, picked 82 times, almost as much as Remnant Violet. Not really a surprise at all. RB has been a staple.
He's got postman twice as much as Violet, so
he did
see more play, more presence than Violet, but I didn't get to see like a lot of ML Haste RB combos that we see in the previous tournament.
Yeah, it's because I think that a lot of people raw pick that ML Haste. And even though people on the other side will just pick Arbiter VILDRED, I'm sure there were a lot of Arbiter VILDREDs in the offline matches as well. But you'll still probably just see these tankier RBs as well. I think that one of the big things with top model LULUCA coming out with the ML Haste is you're seeing a lot more people move towards this tankier RB. RB did pick up a 56.25% win rate this time around. And that's not bad. He is not the end all be all DPS unit that is just going to I pick this and I win type of deal. So, but he does still have that presence. And like I said, a lot of people are building him more tanky to kind of offset the right out the gate top model LULUCAs, to offset the Blood Moon hastes. As those get more and more damage, your RBs are just beefing up a bit more, and you're just hiding this RB behind an Arius Adamant, and good luck, because
counters that
right.
MLDB concert always procs 100% every time you hit it in defense.
Yeah, especially on RB as well. Yeah. So, and the thing is like with the top model LULUCA, if you don't just dump him right out the gate with your S3, that's kind of game for you, because by the time you get your S3 back up, chances are that you're dead. That's just kind of how that one goes. But speaking of Arbiter VILDRED's counters, we'll talk about ML Haste and top model LULUCA here. So ML Haste, 65 picks, 10 pre-bans, 17 post-bans, 62.5% win rate. Top model LULUCA, I expected to see quite a bit of her. We did 60 times, 6 pre-bans, 14 post-bans, 52.17% win rate. Just kind of throwing out there that, these two both really good as RB counters, but also really good as standalone units as well. I talked about how good ML Haste was in the previous tournament, how that true damage, the defense ignoring damage, just ripping that S3 in, the mitigation, the buff strip, just everything that he comes with, very, very strong. And top model LULUCA is just mage assassin COLI.
And not just that, if you early pick your ML Haste or LULUCA, you either stop your opponent from picking RB, and then you just last pick RB later on, or they pick RB and you can just pick another RB counter.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So one of the things I saw a lot of people doing, not necessarily in the tournament, but in like the ladder, right, is picking the Blood Moon Haste top model LULUCA combo versus the RB Blood Moon Haste combo. That way, if they pick RB, well, you've got one of two options to play with, and then you just pick the rest of your 3 units as whatever you want with these 2 units.
Right. And I think LULUCA, I also see people just like, even if you're desperate, you can just S2 and you can S1 for more damage, potentially killing someone.
Right. Like the T-Surins.
Yeah, I think actually like even like tankier things, you can just S1 and hope it procs and then kill it.
Right.
Because that S1 proc can deal more damage. So she's not a one-trick pony. She doesn't have to do S2, S3 every time. You can do so many things with her too. And the CR push, she's not selfish as well. She gives CR push. So any unit that's not selfish while dealing damage is always going to be good in the game.
Right. And the other thing too that you can do is let's say if you have like a DIENE or something like that, or a blue rose that's going to push her forward with that attack buff, you can just rip the raw S3 without obviously hitting the S2, because you don't really need it. You get stealth and then you just S2 the next turn, cool everything down a bit and CR push forward and refresh your attack and then go from there. But both of those making a fair amount of a presence in the tournament this time around. So definitely enjoyed seeing that. Now, somebody who kind of fell off last time around, but kind of made a little bit more of a presence back this time is going to be Seaside Belle, and she was picked 73 times, pre-ban 3, and I think all of the Panshui was in this. I think all of them were probably Panshui, because Panshui always pre-bans Seaside Belle. Post-ban 25 times, 50% win rate. Now, the Seaside Belle literally changes how you have to draft, how you have to play the game. No matter how many counters they put in, Seaside Belle will always be really strong.
You also worry about, are they going to pick Seaside Belle? Even though like you see the board and there's like nothing related to Seaside Bellona, you always got to think about, well, if they pick Seaside Bellona.
Right. And a lot of times now, Seaside Belle's being picked up as that last pick, right?
Yeah.
You see what they have on the field. What did they bring? Oh, okay. They brought a Dizzy. They brought a lot of things that are going to be doing double hit, stuff like that. Oh, they don't have a good counter to this. Bop, Seaside Belle, done. And just call it a day. So definitely saw a bit more play from her. Now, Spectre Tenebria, we talked about how much she got pre-banned, right? The second most pre-banned character in the tournament, next to Last Rider KRAU, pre-banned 51 times. She did get picked 68 and post-ban 17, had a almost 55% win rate at 54.9. The big thing here is, we've mentioned it, why Spectre Tenebria is so strong is that if you last pick Spectenny into a team that mostly drafted single targets, they have to ban her. It's a forced ban. There's no ifs, ands, or buts, because typically you're going to see her picked with 2 or 3 tanky units, and then they'll last pick like a Dark Corvus and a Spectre Tenebria. And it's like,
what's wrong about her too is that like a lot of her counters can be countered.
Yeah.
If you bring AoE, there's so many ways to deal with AoE now. KRAU being the more optimal one. G-Purgus going to be probably, if people start building G-Purgus, S10 is going to be even stronger. And there's just so many ways to like deal the counters to S10. That's why she's super safe. Because if your opponent tries to counter your S10, it's so easy for you to like counter those counters.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody who actually made a little bit better headway this time around was TEMPEST SURIN. I believe the last 2 times she has been around like 35%-ish win rate, but this time picked 34 times, 1 pre-ban, 2 post-bans, did get 40.63%. The problem I feel with TEMPEST SURIN is that a lot of people at higher levels of gameplay know how to work around TEMPEST SURIN. Not proccing her stealth CR push is trying to, play around her, or if you do proc it, have like an AoE right afterwards that you can dump her out of. Top model LULUCA, LILIAS, Alencia, things like that in order to be able to take care of her. But she definitely is still super strong. And if you run a speedier one, I think that those are the good ones, because you can speed tune like an Alencia or a Basar to strip, and then boom, right into a TEMPEST SURIN that silences everybody, unbuffables them, anybody who, wasn't already unbuffable anyways.
Why does she have 2 debuffs on her S3 and 2 debuffs on her S1? I don't understand why she has all those.
No idea, because that's just how Smilegate likes to do things. Now the next one,
there's so many TEMPEST SURINs in the arena that's so easy. Like there's so many good ways to practice how to beat T-SURIN. Like, obviously it's arena, it's PvE, but there's like you could learn how to deal with T-SURIN
for sure.
Like T-SURIN's in the arena, and you need to practice knowing when she procs, when she doesn't proc, when do you hit her, when do you save your AoEs, and like there's just go play arena against T-SURIN, and that's how you learn.
Right. But moving on, we're going to talk about the RAVIs, APOC RAVI and Fire RAVI. Now, not really too surprised that we saw Fire RAVIs, but APOC RAVI actually making a bit of a resurgence in RTA these days, and it's due to Last Rider KRAU. 100%. What's that?
That win rate though, I'm not
Yeah,
confident that
but
Ravi's.
I know the thing is with APOC Ravi, the Asia server really likes APOC Ravi. Every time I go up against like somebody from Asia server, usually an APOC Ravi. I know a lot of like higher legend players that have just baller APOC Ravis that just really bring a lot of DPS to the table. But this time around, pick 25 times, no pre-bans, 3 post-bans, APOC Ravi 36.36% win rate. I mean, that's better than a 1/3 easy, but Fire Ravi definitely coming out the winner. What's that?
It's a way better Ravi.
Yeah. Fire Ravi, we saw some really amazing Fire Ravis. Denton had an insane Fire Ravi that just popped off like crazy. Now, Fire Ravi picked 29 times, pre-ban 3, post-ban 5 times, 62.5% win rate. Now, out of the DPSers, I know that obviously she didn't get picked as many times as like, you know, RB, KRAU, Remnant. Well, she did get picked almost as much as KRAU, but Remnant, Violet, you know, things like SSB. But one of the best win rates for DPSers, short of like Assassin Kali, but she got picked about half as much as Fire Ravi. But Fire Ravi, with the clutch stuns, the amazing damage, that Soulburned S1 does so much damage that you just really don't expect it after she gets a little bit of a ramp up. The other thing too, we were talking to her earlier about how with like Lilias, right, you don't know if it's a crit damage Lilias, if it's a bruiser Lilias, if it's a tank Lilias. With Ravi, you don't know if that's a counter Ravi or a speed Ravi. How much effect resist does it have? You know, how much effectiveness is this thing gonna stun my Ruel of Light that's got 300 effect resist? That's kind of one of the things, and it's always, until you know that it's a counter Ravi, you always have to be like, do I want to test it to find out if it's a counter set, and then just have it, dumpster my face. That's, you know, that's one of the things that you want to do. But the S3 is real crazy, and I think that the fact that she brings those stuns a lot more impactful than APOC Ravi, just overall, sure. Yeah.
I mean, the S3 too, like we've seen so many fights too where she hit so many counters. She just S3 turn 1 just because like she was able to get that much fighting spirit from those counters. And being to S3 turn 1 is insane, considering that S3 not only stuns knockback, but it also does so much damage.
Right. And the thing too is if you have that adventurer Ross that's pulling her into things, that's just going to charge up your S3 even faster. So, you know, a good counter into like a Ross S2, and boom, you're almost good to go right there.
I want to say though, Cerise might be a good counter to Ravi once people figure it out. Like, Cerise can restrict, not only like stop, because she has built-in Durandal or what, it's like 50%, right?
She does, yeah.
She boosts every time she gets hit, so that restrict is gonna work. And them stuns, man, she's usually pretty slow, so like just stunning the Ravi might be enough to like.
Right, and even if it's like a, let's say, you know, a high effect resist, eventually you're gonna be lapping her so much that you're going to be able to unresistible stun her. Now, that's also going to be a good counter against LQC, which we're going to see more of absolutely in the future, because you are going to be able to suspend her push as well. But yeah, definitely Fire Ravi, the best Ravi out of those, and one of the better bruisers. Even Alencia, with 47 picks, 3 pre-bans, 5 post-bans, only got 38.1% win rate, which is a little tough considering like Alencia was one of the stronger bruisers in the game, and not even being able to pull out a win rate, pulling out a similar win rate to the APOC Ravi. But you don't see her too much around. It's a lot of times you use her in the bruiser cleave setup into, you know, a strip to get the A-tie win, stuff like that. But, you know, with DN kind of falling off a little bit, the need for Alencia falls off a tad.
Also, there's a lot of defense ban, not just like true damage, but also
Yeah.
like 50% defense ban, like RUELE running
Right.
around, and
Yep.
that defense buff not as strong as it used to be.
Yeah. No, for sure. And so, speaking of some of the healers here, you know, I mentioned that DIENE kind of fell off a little bit. Only picked 31 times, pre-ban once, 5 times post-ban, but did have a 53.85% win rate. And I think that that's because when you couple the DIENE with things like Adventurer Ross, with things like FALCONER, KLURI, you don't really pay too much attention to the anti-crit, right? The anti-crit is a meme in the first place, but you can pick DIENE into Last Rider KRAU and just worry about the attack buff, use it as like an attack buff and a heal, right, stuff like that, producing the souls. And if you don't really think about the anti-crit and just, if it happens, it happens, you mold infinitely less. So if you just assume that the anti-crit on her S3 doesn't work, you're just
all in your head.
It's all in you're happily surprised when it does. You just assume that they clearly only have like 99.9% crit, which is, you know, 50-50 in the first place. On the other flip side, Ruel of Light, the staple healer in the game, picked 53 times, pre-banned 18 times, post-banned 5 times, same as DIENE, 45.83% win rate here. Now, and I think the big reason is that people have kind of figured out how to play around Ruel of Light. Ruel of Light, yeah, single target healer. You put pressure on one unit, she has to heal them. Then you pressure another unit, then she has to either waste an S3 or heal them. In that downtime, you can just start spreading the damage out. And as long as you're spreading your damage out, you're using AoE, you're focus targeting, she can't keep up with that. And yeah, once you get that down, then it is it's a little bit easier. Not only that, with a lot of people picking the Blood Moon Haste and the top mono LULUCA, very big counters to her. So definitely a little bit rough. Now we did see
she's a good counter to like units that like single target comps.
Yeah,
maybe she'll be a good counter to bruisers, but like there's a lot more damage going on nowadays. It's really hard to condom unless if you got insane gears to do so.
Right. But we did see 6 Magic Scholar Doruses.
Oh yeah.
50%, 50% win rate. They did fix her arm right after the tournament. They got her arm fixed. But outside of that, a couple of the ones that surprised me a little bit is we saw a lot more Assassin Colis this time around.
I'm surprised that Assassin COLI had a better win rate than Assassin Sid. That's what I'm more surprised.
So I think that the reason is Assassin Sid used as an opener to burn souls. Assassin COLI gets stealth. So in a world of single target DPSers, you pick Assassin COLI, and there's nothing that they can do about that to touch you.
I don't know. I feel like I always thought that stealth was better than I mean, not stealth. Evasion buff was a little bit better than stealth, but maybe
I mean, if you're going into the thing is Assassin COLI can basically stay permanently stealthed, right? If you just take away any of their AoE damage, there's nothing that they can do to touch her other than just kill your entire team. And the amount of damage that Assassin COLI puts out, that's not a reasonable situation for them to really be in, because, well, chances are they're not killing your entire team before Assassin COLI just tank busts your whole business down.
Right.
But picked 15 times, post-banned 8 times, 85.71% win rate.
So good.
Yeah.
That win rate is insane considering how many times she got picked.
Yeah, and the flip side, Assassin Sid picked 19 times, pre-ban 5, post-ban 7 with just a 50% win rate. So very 50-50 on him. You know, so a little one-sided this time. The past couple of tournaments, you have seen not much in the way of Assassin COLI picks. And I think that that's because there was a lot more AoE picks, right? But the thing is,
we saw KRAU a lot more last time.
Right. Exactly. And so if you pick KRAU, let's say they pre-ban Stenny, you pick KRAU, take out they go start going single target, then you can last pick an Assassin COLI, and they have to go, do I ban the KRAU or do I ban this Assassin COLI? I have no way to deal with the Assassin COLI, right?
Every time you see Assassin COLI 2 in high level play, that Assassin COLI is hella geared.
Absolutely. 100%. It is going to just rip your entire team apart. Yep. And chances are it's probably on RNL as well. So, it's going to proc like 40 times. Even if you stun her, or even if you bring Cerise and you stun her right out the gate, it doesn't matter. She's just going to RNL proc out of it. For sure. But some other notable ones here. Dizzy picked 26 times, no pre-bans, 8 post-bans, 50% win rate. Basar, who we mentioned earlier, picked 31 times, 2 pre-bans, 12 post-bans, 52.63%. Who else did we have that was kind of up there?
He's and Shu both only got picked 6 times, didn't get post-ban, and also got a 50% win rate.
Yeah, 50% win rate. Not bad, especially considering you don't really see her too often in the meta. Celine, I saw a lot of people trying to pick Celine and do their stuff, but pick 10 times, 1 pre-ban, 3 post-ban, only a 28.57% win rate.
I remember so many Celines just pretty much did nothing. She was just a dead weight in a lot of the fights, and like she didn't even pop off.
Right.
I don't know.
I mean, I think the thing is with her is that people started trying to pick her to counter top model LULUCA, to counter FALCONER KLURI, things like that. And the problem with that is that chances are they're probably using the EE that's going to hit the target with the highest attack. If you're running a top model LULUCA, you're running a Dignus Orb, and a Dignus Orb is going to stop the damage, and then you're just going to come through and kill things. If you have FALCONER KLURI, one, you don't have to S3 right out the gate, but even if you want to, as long as your highest attack damage is like, let's say a RAVI or something like that, or just somebody in general who has a big hefty shield. My SSB, I think I did one time, and the Celine hit real hard, but my SSB is a brick wall of a unit, and so you can kind of play around that and just go, oh, okay, well, you're gonna go into a 20k HP SSB behind Argus Adamant, good luck. So you can kind of adjust how that's going to go, and then after that, done. Because chances are you're going to come through and you're going to make sure that Celine is dead, because otherwise she's going to S3, heal back, then she's going to be bop you and stuff like that. But yeah,
she gets evasion, yeah, she's also pretty slow. I hear a lot of people thinking about switching to the stealth EE instead of the attack buff one, but then what's the point? I don't know. I just feel like she's in a bad spot right now. I think someone will eventually figure it out, hopefully.
Yeah, no, I'm sure somebody somewhere will end up using her and do pretty well with her. But outside of that, I mean, we saw a lot of just miscellaneous, like here and there picks, 5 Mersas that with a 60% win rate.
You see both Asarias actually with over almost 60%, 57.14 for both of them.
And a lot of times when people pick that green Asaria, very, very commanding wins. And she has such an amazing kit, and the modifiers on her S1 Soulburn are ridiculously good. But, a lot of times you see people that, really kind of want to trash on the Briar Witch Asaria. And, she does...
She's in an okay spot. I don't think she's meta, but
definitely
she's in an okay spot. She probably needs a little bit more help in order to be completely meta. But
I kind of wish that they would decide like what it is that they want her to do, and I think that that's like one of the weird things that they're doing with like these kits nowadays. Is it's like, do you want this to be a debuffer, or do you want this to do damage? ML Cigarette, I've got a lot of things to say about her when I finally get around to doing my video on her.
Is she a stripper, first turn stripper, or is she like a mini bazaar, or is she a deep, like, I don't know either.
Right.
She's DPS, she one single target burst damage on shields.
Yeah.
There's like so many weird kits where like, how do I go around this? What am I supposed to do with this unit?
Exactly. But I mean, she did get picked 9 times, 2 post bans, and almost a 60% win rate, that 57.14% win rate. So
she's definitely niche, but she's definitely got a spot. If you got Briar with CECILIA and you got Year to Spare, she's definitely got a spot in the 5th pick easily.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, we could go over everything else here, but I mean, there was a lot of other just miscellaneous picks with varying
with like very bad win rates here. SBA, they're Surmia, they're just not good right now.
Right, not super good, or they just went into the wrong lineups. But oh wow, we've been talking for almost an hour about this. There's always so much data when we go over like the end of the tournament. But with that, I'm super excited for the December tournament. I think that these numbers are going to be completely different with the shifts in the meta, the Guiding Light, the Cerise, the Landy, the LQC. We're going to probably see some Sage Balls, lots and lots of different stuff, especially the Bastion of Petulia changes, things along those lines.
Maybe get Fire Maya in there?
Maybe.
Fire Maya hype?
Maybe Fire Maya. The other thing, too, is we don't know what ML Cigarette's going to bring, what the next RBG is going to bring. So December tournament gonna be ridiculously hype. Everything that we saw the last weekend is going to be shifted this upcoming time, and I'm super excited for it. It's going to be December 19th, 20th, and the 21st. It's going to be the same times as all the other tournaments, 7 p.m. EST on the Friday, 2 p.m. EST on Saturday, 2 p.m. EST on Sunday. I will be joined with Mevlin as well as potentially one other caster each day. I'm going to try to see if I can rotate casters so we have somebody different to talk to each day, Mevlin.
Sounds fun.
But you don't get out of it because, well, you're forced to now. You're just kind of part of this. But as always, make sure you guys do stick around for more stuff. If you remember the player profile videos that I did for the first major tournament, well, I've got plans to do those for everybody else. I'm waiting to actually hear back from just one person, and then I will be able to put the bracket together. We can start doing those videos. I want to dig a little bit more into each person from their, their gameplay, their tournament. I know me and Mevlin know a lot of them from the ladder. These are going to be some big names. I'm super hyped to see Booty Pop fight again. But yes,
I'm happy. Actually, Pangolin didn't make it. Did Pangolin hit?
No, he didn't make it. But we've got Booty Pop Triple X, the people's champion.
I guess I'll send for Booty Pop again.
Absolutely. We're going to make sure that this time around, much like last time, there's going to be the betting on the fights. We're at $2,025 for the pot now because somebody donated $25. Yes, so obviously that may or may not go up, but there's going to be gift cards for chat, prizes for every the top 3 people, and it's gonna be huge. But anyways, as always, if you guys haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, share this out. Anybody who tells you that insert X unit is bad, you can easily reference this video and tell them, well, people who are playing for $2,000 don't think they're bad, so get good, kid. I'll have all of Mevlin's info in the bottom, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Take it easy, homies. Peace.
Peace out.